Sort out my bra. Oops. So, hello, welcome to the stream. So, if you're new to watching me, I do these streams every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. and that's UK time. So it's live on this YouTube channel, and you ask questions through Skype. It's Rebekah Maroon on Skype. So you friend me on Skype first to ask questions. Yeah. And also once a month I do a silent sitting, which is not broadcast. It's offline. It's private. I had one last Sunday and it was really lovely. I've changed the format slightly and it was really, really lovely. So that's once a month, and I'll post the next one when I arrange it. And that'll be posted under upcoming events on the website. So I tend to do about an hour on a Thursday, roughly, depending on questions and how tired I am. So welcome. And this talk is called Beyond Experience. So I'll introduce that topic shortly when the words come to talk about it. And then I'll open for questions to be asked. So I didn't really know what to call the stream. Beyond Experience came. I was watching YouTube. As I was logging in, I was watching YouTube a little bit about a vegan burger, and then about this bean vegan burger, and then and the words Beyond Experience came, and it felt beautiful, so that's what I called it. And this is the beauty of non-duality, the beauty of this subject, is that it's not about something. It's not about an experience, an object, a form, an appearance. And so because it's not about anything, I can't ever know what beyond experience is. All the mind can know is objects, is experience. All it can know is quality, objectiveness. So this isn't a personal knowing. This isn't about something to do with the human reality. It's not something found in this dream. It's not something usable by the human animal or by a character. So this isn't personal at all. The person believes this is about it getting something, it knowing something, it having something, it finding something, it achieving something, it obtaining something, it arriving somewhere. It's all about personhood. And that's just the way it appears, that's the way it seems to be. there's an attraction to this message, and then the story about it seems to appear as well, about what it means, what it hopes to deliver, all these ideas. But it really isn't about that person. And that's why it's ultimate freedom, total freedom, because it isn't personal. Total beauty, because it isn't personal. And because it's not personal, it's the birthright of everything. It's the natural reality. It's not owned by anyone. It can't be owned by anyone. So as humans, what we believe is that we are a story, we are an identity, we are the story of someone. That's who we are. We believe that in attaining and acquiring pleasure, positive experiences equals happiness, equals our joy. Because in acquiring something, there is pleasure, there is joy. But the joy is the end of the seeking for it. The joy is in that sense of completion, that sense of rest from that seeking. That's the joy. Not in the object attained, but in the end of that whole seeking. So then starts this constant trying to get this joy fix, this hit of pleasure, this constant needing to have the high of pleasure. And pleasure obviously is lovely. No one's denying pleasure isn't a natural thing to move toward and to want. But the suffering comes in needing that pleasure to complete you. Using pleasure to avoid pain. So to avoid pain, believing it's the end of your happiness or your joy, if pain comes, you've lost your peace, you've lost your completeness, is in fact an error. And to believe that having pleasure is your completeness, and not simply a pleasure, but your completeness is in having pleasure, is also an error. What non-duality is talking about is that neither pain or pleasure complete you. So if pain comes, pain comes. If pleasure comes, pleasure comes. It's this revealing of that which is unaffected by pain or pleasure, that which is free, isn't dependent upon the circumstances or the situations the human is in. That's what I would call freedom, discovering that which isn't bound by pleasure or pain. And this isn't something that has to be acquired or worked towards. That's the beauty of this message. It's pointing to something that already is. The nature of reality is this. The nature of everything is this. So then what happens in humans is a mistaken identification. A dream of being someone, of being something, of being a story in time, of being a description, of being a thought, of being a feeling. So this waking up is a returning back to that, so to speak. and I don't know how it happens. I don't know how it happens. It's shining, always free. Always free. Immaculate. But there's a deeply ingrained pattern of identification with thought. So then there's this message pointing out that thought is thought. It's not reality. It's not a truth. But what you are is free. Not this story of someone. What you are is free. So utterly beautiful. So utterly amazing. Hi, Prachi. Oops. I've got this app I'm going to try. It's text to speech. I'm going to try it on your question.
Thanks, dear Rebekah.
Can you hear it?
Many non-duality speakers say that everything is self-balancing, but here there were always feelings of shame, humiliation, etc. Don't know when these feelings would go. Feel broken all the time.
Sorry, I'll do that again. I didn't.
Thanks, dear Rebekah. Many non-duality speakers say that everything is self-balancing, but here there were always feelings of shame, humiliation, etc. Don't know when these feelings would go. Feel broken all the time.
By self-balancing, I'm assuming you mean like it will sort itself out in time. It will sort itself out, all the feelings of being, of humiliation and shame and these negative feelings. From my experience, I think non-duality has an effect on these kinds of feelings and these kinds of traumas. It definitely has an effect on them. But at the same time, I'm reluctant to say or to like advise you to wait until these things get sorted out on their own. You could look into who feels shameful, who feels humiliated, but I think like these feelings need to be really gone into and really experienced rather than mentally trying to deal with them. So saying there's no one there to feel shame or whatever is not going to really help to move that through. So all those stories about shame and humiliation from your past, like, need to be really felt, really brought up and felt rather than suppressed. Non-duality isn't a suppression of all these things. It really isn't a suppression. It's a total exposing of everything. a total opening up rather than an expression. It's the other way. Everything comes up, everything comes out. The person suppresses, the mind suppresses and controls. This is a total opening to all experiences, all feelings. All ideas, all beliefs, all traumas, all pains and pleasures, everything. What you are or what this is unconditional love. Unconditional. It doesn't favour pleasure over pain. It has no preference. Only the good over bad. Only the mind can do that. But this is like a natural part of this awakening. All this stuff has to come up. It's not an error or wrong. It's part of this exposing everything. It all has to come up. It's so beautiful. Nothing can break you, what you truly are. And this is the revealing. When hell comes up, it can't break you, but it has to come up. It has to see whether this is a real seeing. It has to be tested, if you like. Everything. But I have no issue with suggesting maybe you need some kind of therapy or some kind of bodily healing to help with this. As all these things come up, come out, it might help to have that support. Maybe not, but maybe as well. I think as well with non-duality, it's so beautiful. This message is so amazingly beautiful. But I think like when the mind's interpreting it, it will interpret it in a way that suits its conditioning. So if you feel like shit anyway, then you'll take this message of there's no one there and go, there's no one there, so I'm allowed to feel like shit. It will use it to keep stuck in its patterns. And because non-duality has no preference over feeling like shit or feeling great, it's irrelevant of how the human feels. It doesn't matter. That happened here, like a passivity kind of happened where there's such freedom regardless of situations or circumstances. It was just so okay with the conditions and so okay with what was happening, which is naturally going to happen. He's totally okay with whatever conditions the body's in, and so you become passive and not very active. And I've recently seen that in my own experience, like that there was no desire for anything. I didn't really want anything, so there was a passivity because this was it and it was enough. But then now the body feels it wants and it wants to experience. It wants to choose more positive experiences. It wants to choose more pleasurable experiences. And so the conditioning must be like changed to that, to what is wanted on the experiential level. But that's not freedom. That's just an experience. That's just a human preference. The human chooses pleasurable over painful, growth over stagnant. So this message isn't to be used by the human. Oh, there's no one there, so what's the point? And blah, 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 blah. I feel like shit, but there's no one here, so who cares? It's not to be used like that. Thank you, Pretty. Yeah. I prefer reading the question, actually. So how can this message not be about me? How can it not be about me, the mind says? My happiness. The question always is, who is this person? Who is this person? Like it's a whole separate thing. It's a whole separate thing. I'm not sure how to talk about it yet. I'm not sure how to express it yet. There's naturally a wanting to be happy as a human animal, but this isn't about that. Like it's two separate things, and yet at the same time, this natural moving towards happiness is also included and also a part of this, but in this communication, it's a different thing being spoken about. Blow your head off. Okay. Any more questions? No more questions. This is your freedom. This is your freedom. That life is happening. And that's unbelievable to the mind. The mind's fixated on past and future, fixated on time, can only exist in time. The ideas that isn't going to disappear. The mind's the mind, the thinking mind. So that's his job, to think. But it doesn't hold reality. It doesn't hold what's true. It's just a part of this functioning, a part of this appearance of life, like a leaf, or the lamp, or the table, or the sound of the water pump, the fish tank pump. There's thoughts and feelings, projections, pictures, memories. None of it means anything. None of it has to mean anything. How can life be this free? How can life be this complete? I went to a forest school today, so I'm a bit tired as well. So be in the forest all afternoon. Prachi, feel free to message again later if you want to. I'm not sure how clear my response was to you, so feel free to question more or ask more about it. So we end the stream now. There's no questions at the moment, so but I am back on Thursday at 8:30 next week, 8:30 p.m. So you can ask questions next week, and feel free to send them in beforehand, before the stream, but not too far ahead. So I might forget to read them. So have a great week, and I shall see you next week. Bye.